They're not there to shop. They're not there to work. They're just there. So get off your TV watching Brown Eye and watch the movie. Superhero anatomy, topless fortune telling, bunny bashing, and more. Who's your favourite new kid? It's Mall or Nothing. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 69, Mallrats.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 69, dude, Mallrats. I'll be your host this evening, Brett Summers, and joining me as always are...
Paul Hawkins.
Damien, I was about to say Brett Summers then. Damien Hicks.
you wish.
Do you know what? It's just because as soon as you said that, 69, I thought we really did miss a trick. We should have been doing Bill and Ted for this episode. Never mind. It's not really well, it is a team movie in a way, but
that can come back in our time travel sequence.
Yeah.
But yeah, episode 69 is on Mallrats, the Kevin Smith movie. But before we turn our spotlight to that, what's been happening, guys? Damien, what have you been up to? What's been going down? What have you been watching?
So I've not been watching a lot. I think it's probably worth mentioning again this week we are doing an OB. We're outside again because it's still too damn hot in the studio. So, as with last week, if you hear dogs barking in the background, planes flying overhead, we apologise. Bats, yeah, we've seen a few bats already.
Mosquitoes.
Well, yeah, they don't really get picked up on the mic, though.
There you go.
So, yeah, we're outside again. So, apologies if there's any noise distractions, if that's the word. I don't know.
You hear screams, it's real.
Exactly, yeah. So, what have I been up to? Not a lot this week. It's been relatively quiet. It's been too hot to do anything. No river kayaking adventures. No paintball adventures. Not a lot, actually. I've paid a bit of Scalextrics. Seriously contemplating.
Who's winning?
Oh, it's just me on my own.
No, but which car? Is there a better car?
Yeah, is there a better car?
Do you favour the DeLorean?
Well, exactly.
Does the DeLorean?
What I do know, this is really, really sad. I can't believe I'm about to tell you this.
Uh-oh.
But what I do is, in my head, someone has stolen the DeLorean.
Oh God!
And Michael Knight is chasing after them to retrieve the DeLorean. So the DeLorean gets a bit of a head start, and then Michael Knight kicks in and starts chasing it down. But I'm actually at the point where I'm seriously considering buying much more track. And I went on eBay and looked to see like what vintage ones are out there, because obviously they only do a short run of stuff and then it ends. So that I knew there'd been a few in the past TV shows and stuff they've done, and I found a Starsky and Hutch one.
Cool.
Unfortunately, on eBay it's like 350 quid.
So
Full working order, looks really mint condition, but I can't justify 350 quid.
Sorry, kids, you can't go to college, but look at my Scalextrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't touch
in a
it,
year's
just look at
time,
it.
you'll find that we no longer have a studio. We have a big Scalextrics track. We shall see.
Is there a Jigsaw Hazard one?
No, there isn't. I did find does anyone remember TCR? Total Control Racing.
Rings a bell.
So that was like the rival back in the day.
Yeah.
They were a smaller scale, and it wasn't quite slot cars.
Oh,
they
is that
were
like the knockoff Scalextric?
no. It's legitimate as any other.
Is it the GoBots
rival.
of Scalextrics?
Yeah, it could be. You could argue that, but rather than being slot cars, they had little connection points that just sat on the track, so they're much harder to control, much less. Not that Scalextrics back in the day was easy to control, but these ones were even harder. And there's an A-team one of those, but again, it's a lot of money, so I won't go for TCR either. I think I just stick to just buying more track.
It's good that he's not addicted. What about you, Paul? Any addictions this week?
No, I've just been getting ready for holidays.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Where you going? Anywhere nice?
Ireland.
Ooh.
To see the Outlaws. So just making sure everything's ready at work for when I'm not around.
So are they presumably suffering the heat wave same as we are?
Yeah. Not as bad. But yeah, but I think it's going to be raining, obviously, when we're over there. So
That's a
Enjoy.
shame.
I'll still get a barbecue in.
What about watching then? Anything?
So, there's a couple of things. I've been watching something that I know you've watched too. So, do we want to talk about that first?
Oh, what is it?
Pray. Oh yeah, we pray.
The Take That documentary.
We need to pray just to make it today.
Dun, dun, dun.
So yeah, the new Predator film.
Yes. Go for
I
it.
don't have the spoiler bell, and I do not wish to hear any
I
spoilers.
won't give too much away, but Prey is basically set a few hundred years ago in America with Native Americans. That is the right term, isn't it?
No.
No, what's the
It
original
is-
Americans?
No, not first.
No, it's not. It used to be first generation American, but you can't say that. She's a Comanche female warrior.
There we
go.
go.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, a tribe of Comanche warriors. The main protagonist is trying to make her way in the tribe, trying to become.
Just got cheers in my head. Then trying to make the world today.
She wants to be.
It's a lot like Cheers.
She wants to be respected as like a proper warrior. And one of those is she needs to go out and kill something that's in essence going to try and kill her and bring the head back, i.e., a lion or a tiger or what I think it was a
Bear.
yeah. But then they end up fighting a tiger or a lion, don't they?
In
a mountain lion or something.
I was going to say, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's still a vicious beast.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that. I just
And
didn't
you
see
know,
many lions.
while she's going through this, she sees a sign in the sky, which we know is actually a spaceship. So the Predator comes on board, as it were, in the film, and yeah, the next bit is the Predator hunting different people within the film. I'm trying not to give anything away, but it's not just Comanches; it's other people as well. I really like this. I actually think this was, for me, the best Predator. But at the same time, I was also disappointed it was a Predator movie. Let me explain.
Ooh.
Well, first of all,
Are you sitting comfortably?
Yeah, no, you just went play
I'm
squad.
going to tell you a story.
no. It's just the look and feel of it is brilliant. And the acting from the main character again is really good. The disappointing thing for me is if this was any other film that
Amber Midfunder.
yeah
That's something.
so she does a sterling job. But where it's a Predator film, I don't think it's going to get the recognition that if it was just a movie about Comanche warriors and
I see what you mean.
fighting
Yeah.
trappers.
Yeah, would have got an
Yeah.
Oscar or something for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But because there's a Predator involved and it's a sci-fi film, I don't think. Well, hopefully she will get the recognition she deserves because I think she did a stellar performance.
Yeah, she was amazing in it.
And again, you know, the scenery was great. The detail that they gave in to the way of life at the time as well was really good as well. Yeah, I loved it. There was nice little points about this. So obviously the Predator, you know, can't see things that are cool because it goes off heat vision. So there's a drug that she gives to try and heal people and make them better that reduces the body temperature. Clever little things like that, as opposed to like getting caked in mud. And again, she cottons onto this. The action sequences that she gets to be in, or her character get to be in, are bloomin' good as well. You know, she's full on action hero, shall we say? Stuff that she does with an
definitely.
axe. Again, brilliant. All of the other warriors are like slagging her off. Why have you attached a rope to the axe? What are you going to do with that? Well, actually, she can do a lot with that. I really enjoyed it. I would give this a solid 8.5.
Oh,
I really would.
I'll read my verdict. There's no
Since when did we
spoiler.
start doing halves?
Quite a lot.
Have we?
1995.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. I think I was going to seriously never noticed that before. It shows how much attention I'm paying.
Always do a half first. Sorry, that goes my job. Yeah, I'll read you my spoiler-free verdict from my review.
Yeah.
I won't go through the
We,
other bit.
we've got the plot now.
Yeah, I've
Although,
got-
to be fair, we could have got that from the
Yeah.
trailer. Just saying.
I went 7 out of 10. An enjoyable movie that does fall into the trap of if they just listened to the girl to begin with, everything would have been okay. Midthunder thrives in the role, as does Beavers as her brother. Plot-wise, there are about 6 bullet points holding the thing together, with a lot of early signposting, all of which tick the expected cliche boxes you would expect.
Yep.
That being said, being so stripped down allows the action and the story to flow more fluidly, almost as if it were in real time. This is still the best Predator movie in a long time, and is great fun to watch. The franchise is in good hands with Trachtenberg because he wants to make more Predator films. So, and obviously there's something about the ending, but I'm not going to say that.
No, don't do that. So I haven't watched it yet, but my thinking was because it was going straight to, it's Hulu, isn't it? Is it Hulu? Well, Disney Plus.
Disney Plus,
Disney,
over
yeah.
at Hulu, and
Yeah. That it wasn't going to be that good. I mean, we watched the trailer and I thought it looked fantastic, but then going straight to streaming as
But
opposed
don't
to
forget, this is what they do
theatrical.
now.
No, I'm not. That was my worry. But
Unless
if
you're
you,
Warner Brothers.
yeah, then you just make films and then forget
Just
about them.
can them all.
Just can them off. Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
So
give it a go.
yeah, I intend to. I'm just not got round to it.
Have you watched Grey Man yet?
No.
Give that a go. That's good action film. as
I'm
well.
not. I'm
That's
not.
on my list. And it's
Yeah.
it's still Prey is still 92% fresh
On Rotten Tomatoes.
Right,
So-
what else have you been watching, Brett?
Yeah, so I've finally had a chance to sit down and watch Morbius, the Sony Marvel movie, not MCU. Blah blah blah. I wasn't sure what to expect going in because we liked the trailer. I think some of us liked the
We
trailer.
had high
when we
hopes.
saw it. We had
I
high
didn't.
hopes. Yeah, you just shock. If you had a Scalextric, you'd have liked it.
Yeah.
And then
I've found it really refreshing, the stuff we're doing at the moment, because we don't have to talk about Marvel that often. It's great.
and then obviously the reviews came out, and then they released it again, and there was the whole online campaign of release it again because we were all busy that day, and like just taking the mickey out of Sony. And has anyone read up on all that stuff yet?
No.
Oh no, do it. It's hilarious. Because Sony then re-released it 'cause there was an online campaign to re-release it because they said it was released at the wrong date, and then less people went and saw it that time. And then they did another online one going, sorry, we were all busy that day, please release it again. And that time they actually realised that they might be taking the mickey out of them. There's been a whole, it's quite a fun read, and how naive Sony's, I guess, internet team are, whatever you want to call it, marketing team are. But all in all, though, it wasn't too bad. I didn't think it was rubbish.
I just think it was a wasted opportunity. I think it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, to me, it was a really good pilot episode for a TV show.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Which will never happen because
No.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
though it was like a big film, big box office film. But it was, I thought Jared Leto was okay. I thought Matt Smith was okay. The girl in it was alright, and the guy that played their sort of scientist father figure, whose name escapes me, who's been in everything.
Yeah.
It was well acted. It was well right. It was a bit rushed. It had that kind of, it was very fast paced. There was kind of, can we ring the spoiler bell?
I haven't got the spoiler bell with
Well,
me.
you know, metaphorically,
ding.
ding. Yeah, no one's worried. Well, you've seen it. I'll just check.
I'm not worried at all. Never going to watch it.
Because like him and Matt Smith sort of grow up with these blood illnesses.
My only concern is time.
Him and Matt Smith grow up with these blood illnesses, and then later on, when he gets vamped up, there's another one, and it's like, who is it, whatever. And just as you're like, oh, it could be him, they basically tell you and show you anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't even get a chance. You can't digest it before the next thing happens. You know, the pacing was a bit off, and the speed of it, that's what makes you make it more like a TV pilot, because it just kind of rushes through and then ends on a setup for whatever happens next, which probably won't now. But the extra credit bits with the Vulture are a waste of time. It looked like they were just chucked in because they'd filmed something and needed to put something in because, you know, Marvel do it, so Sony better. And yeah, I'd go 6 or 7 out of 10 because it wasn't as bad as everyone's making it out to be. But you know, it would be better served as a TV pilot than it would a Hollywood blockbuster movie.
Okay. I've not really listened to anything you just said, but okay.
You never do. You just sit there and nod.
All right, Damien, what have you been watching?
The only thing I've been watching is I've managed to catch another couple of episodes of Sandman. So as I said last week, hadn't even got to the diner scene. So I've done the diner scene now, and the one after that. So the one with death in, and
Mate in the pub.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's the same. That's the
is it
death
the same
one
episode?
where he meets.
Yeah, it is the same episode.
Yeah, and every 100 years he
Yeah.
meets up for a
Yeah.
pie.
Yeah, so I've done a couple more episodes than I thought. I thought the diner one was really good. The tension throughout, it was so well done that even though I knew what was going to happen, how it was going to play out, I think the way they shot it, there's those little bits where it kind of it builds to something, but then that doesn't happen, and it just kind of, it's a whole episode in one space. I thought was really well done, and yeah, I loved the one you just mentioned about the
him and the mate in
me
the
and his
pub.
mate.
That was
Yeah.
one of my favourite bits in
Yeah.
in the whole
Yeah.
of the comic book, and it was done so well.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm really enjoying that. I think that must mean I've only got about 2 or 3 episodes to go, but it's just I don't have the time. I'm not having the time at the moment.
David Thewlis is like one of those guys that just appears every 5 or 6 years, does a really good role. and
Yeah, I
then
think
just
he's
appears
brilliant
again.
in this.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant.
it's amazing.
It's that underlying, menace that just
Yeah,
little bit bubbles to the surface, but doesn't.
but he's kind of nice in his way. Like he lets the lady go with the car spoilers. He gives
Yeah,
her
yeah.
the thing or whatever, but he's still a horrible person.
Yeah.
He's got his, so it's kind of like, is he alright or no? But yeah, but no. And he's come a long way since a bunch of Wallies.
Bunch of Wallies, yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I look forward to seeing your reaction to future episodes. Cool. Is that everyone done?
I watched Lightyear.
Oh, go on then.
Briefly.
Just don't.
Told
Oh.
you.
Yeah, well, they've managed to
So-
take
So was I right?
a formula of producing films that you want to rewatch. The nice thing is, as I always mentioned with kids' films, is that they've got the ability to allow you to watch them over and over again. Lightyear, that they try and make it too serious and try and make it almost a grown-up film and as a cartoon fails at being a good kids' film as well.
Okay.
4 out of 10.
So I was right.
Yeah.
I told you.
It's nice to watch it because it was new and the kids wanted to watch a new film.
Oh yeah. Anytime something new comes on Disney Plus, you already have to click
Exactly, yeah.
on it. Oh, and Solar Opposite Season 3's on now as well, and that's really, really good still, and you should all check that out. Even though it's a cartoon, I don't like cartoons, come
Yeah.
on, mature
Just
adult.
not going to happen.
No.
But you watch Lightyear.
スポットライト
Okay, written and directed by Kevin Smith, Mallrats came after the success of the independent hit Clerks. Smith and his best friend stroke producer Scott Mosier began to plan for their second film. After a screening of Clerks, producer James Dax approached them to do another film for Universal Studios. Smith soon finished the script for the new film and casting began, and the studio were very excited as they wanted another, to quote, teen comedy like Porky's. That's what they kept telling him all the
Yeah.
way through. This is going to be the new Porky's. This is going to be great. We want you to do a film like Porky's. And, and they kind of didn't really leave him alone all the way through it. Okay, casting notes. Jeremy London, who at the time was a big actor in TV and a few TV shows to his credit, was cast as T.S. Henry Thomas was a finalist for the role, but he didn't get it.
I don't know that name. Who's that?
Jeremy London.
No, not Jeremy
Henry
London.
Elliot from E.T.
Oh, right, okay. Really?
Yeah, and now who ended up in Haunting the Hill House and all that. didn't he?
Yeah.
I know, there's some weird people coming and going on this one.
Yep, okay, so Shannon Doherty, who was at the time the most famous cast member after her appearances in several films,
Like
including
Heathers.
Heathers that we did last week, and hit show, obviously, Beverly Hills 90210, which I never watched, but, you know.
You would have watched one. or
Well,
two.
yeah, I was going to say everyone used to watch one. Jason Lee was cast with no prior acting experience before the film. Lee was a professional skateboarder.
Yeah, Adam Sandler and Steve Zahn were also finalists for the role of Brody Bruce that Jason Lee got.
Yeah, I can't really see Adam Sandler. Don't know, doesn't fit for me. Which obviously he didn't get it, so
Yeah.
that's why. But yeah,
According to Kevin Smith, there was another actor who auditioned for and eventually received the lead role of Brody. Well, I don't think he's ever said it was, but apparently on the first day of shooting his scenes, the unnamed actor broke down and was unable to give the same performance that that had earned him the role in the first place. So that's where Jason Lee came in.
yeah, be interesting to know who that was. So Ben Affleck, who was a relative unknown at the time, was cast as Shannon Hamilton. This before or after?
This is
Dazed.
about 2 years after Days of
I
Confused.
thought so, yeah.
So it stars on the rise, as is Joey Lauren Adams, who was also in Days of Confused. She gets cast as Gwen Turner, and after this, she later dated Kevin Smith. And during that time, he wrote her as the main character of his next film, Chasing Amy. Parker Posey, also of Days of Confused, was also considered for the role.
Ethan Suplee was cast as William Black. Scott Mosier was supposed to reprise the role, but Smith and the film producers were so impressed with Suplee that they cast him instead. And also Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg auditioned for both roles of Rennie Mosier and Brandy Svenning.
Yeah, I don't think they liked her much. Same as Shawnee Smith apparently came in to audition for a role, and Kevin Smith said that she was very rude and mocked the screenplay, and after she left, the casting director, Dom Phillips, apologised for her behaviour.
Yeah, it's kind of...
This next bit, I think what you're going to say cracks me up.
So Universal did not want Jason Mewes to play Jay, despite the fact they'd already played him in Clerks. And the character of Jay is based on him, so Mewes had to audition for the part against other actors such as Seth Green and Breckin Meyer.
Can you imagine Seth Green doing it?
No.
Can you imagine, like, no, sorry, this role's not for you,
Yeah.
but it's based on me. It uses all the
It is
things
me.
I say,
Yeah.
and it is me. Yeah, but we
Yeah.
don't think it's
Well, it's like
you.
that whether it's apocryphal or not, Charlie Chaplin losing or coming second in a Charlie Chaplin
Yeah, Charlie
lookalike contest or whatever it was.
Yeah. Kissed on that as well. They came third in a Kiss sound-alike competition. Heather Graham pops up again, another audition. She auditioned for a role in the film. Reese Witherspoon also had a meeting with the casting director Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier, and both of them did not enjoy the meeting and told the casting director to not bother to bring her in for an audition. You can read more about that in his book, Silent Bob Speaks.
And originally, William Atherton was Kevin Smith's first choice to play Jared Svenning. Atherton chose not to do it because the film was aimed at a teenager audience, so Michael Rooker stepped in.
Universal wanted Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, or Chris Farley for the role of Brody Bruce, and either Ethan Hawke for TS. Then they proposed Mark Wahlberg for Brody and Leonardo DiCaprio for TS. It just gets worse, doesn't it? It's
Just
just,
imagine, like, you're trying to cast this film and the studio keep coming
Yeah.
and going, we want these two now.
but not
we
just
want
that, not
these
just the interference, just the names they're proposing. It's just,
Yeah,
you know what, Leonardo DiCaprio had done probably Basketball Diaries by that point.
Maybe
and-
a Gilbert Grape.
Yeah, true. So it's too. I don't know. For me, like some of the names that have been bandied about, it loses its kind of independent feel. If that makes sense.
Damn the man.
Yeah. Well, this was...
Save the Empire.
And keep hold of that fork, because this was one of the ongoing struggles through the movie for Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Stanley as well, now famous for his cameos in the movie, initially didn't want to be in the film as he felt the dialogue assigned to him wasn't what he would personally say. Kevin Smith responded and said that it was just pretend, to which Lee replied, "Okay, Spider Friend." So, memories. When, where, what? How did Mallrats come into your life?
You made me watch it. I think that's
But do you remember when we first watched it?
no, I don't. You know what my memory's like, so expect.
We were
Help me.
we were at a DJ Hammy and Matt club night in Lennon's,
Right.
and they had it on the projection screen, and we just sat there with beer and watched the whole film with no sound. And like, that was cool. Wonder what it's like when you could hear it.
Yeah. I
And
don't
then-
remember
Then
that.
we went and got it, and then
Okay.
we watched it properly, and then we found out about Clerks, and I think at the time Chase and Amy had come out, and I think I went to HMV like a couple of days later, and it was one of those, they were 3 of the 5 for 20 quid.
Yeah.
'Cause I think Chasing Amy come out, and then we were waiting for Dogma. Was the next one at that point, but that hadn't come out yet. Yeah, so it was in Lennon's. We watched it with no sound, just DJs playing with it on the screen, going like, "What is
We
this?"
need to see this film.
Yeah, this film looks
Okay.
amazing.
I have no recollection of that, but then if we're in Lennon's drinking, it's probably why.
Yeah, that's the one bit I remember that night. I don't remember how the night ended or whatever happened after that, but I remember that bit.
Probably got kicked out, no doubt.
Yeah, not in Lennon's.
That's true. But got someone else kicked out.
Yeah. Paul?
No memories.
None
No.
at all.
No, I don't. No. No
Cool.
memories other than Jane and Silent Bob. That was about it. But they were kind of ingrained in any of Smith's films.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so
Okay,
let's hit the plot then, shall we?
Let's go through it. Let's take our surgical scalpel through this film.
So, college student T.S. Quint is preparing for a trip to Universal Studios Florida in Orlando with Brandy Svenning, during which he plans to propose to her. However, Brandy tells him she cannot go due to having volunteered to fill in as a contestant on Truthful Date, her father's new dating game show, because the original contestant had died from an embolism bursting her brain while swimming 700 laps at the local YMCA. Following T.S.'s comment regarding her weight, T.S. dismisses the blame and they argue over this and break up. T.S. turns to his best friend Brody Bruce, who has been dumped by his girlfriend Renee, played by Shannon Doherty, and Brody suggests the two might find comfort at the local mall. So, with the exception of this scene, with the exception of the scene on the roof, this is another one of those teen films, where it's all one day. So, we've done what? Ferris,
Quite a few now.
Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused,
Jeez.
Breakfast Club.
Empire Records.
Empire Records. Are we just kind of drawn to these films that happen in the space of one day, or is it just
Well,
coincidence?
maybe it's the thing that all the good films are all in one day.
Maybe.
And so I just got movement outside of my head. I don't know if there's other people here. It's quite creepy. But the swimming bit, the Judy dry in the swimming pool is also from Clerks as well, isn't it? Because in Clerks they go to her wake, and off camera, Randall knocks the casket over.
Right. Okay.
And then you see him run back to. You see him go in, and you see him come run out back to the car. So this is the start of what
that
became
universe,
the
the
Viewersk universe.
Yeah.
So it is referencing other films, and one bit I never realised or picked up upon until I watched it this time. You got T.S. Quint and Brody Bruce. I never realised it's all Jaws people.
Did you not?
I never, didn't figure it. While I was watching it, I was like, these are all characters from Jaws.
Yeah.
Never in the whole time, the many.
In the previous 30 odd years,
Yeah,
you've
so
never picked up on
I
that.
picked up every other reference in this film. That's the genius of it. There may be other things still in there that we haven't spotted. Yeah. So it's a good opening. We get our heroes. We get T.S. We've got Brody. We've got the objects of their affection that don't want to know them, and the fact that there's this game show lurking, Truth or Date, which is basically Blind Date, but
Yeah.
they changed the name because they probably get sued. Yeah.
Cool. So Brody and T.S. discover the Truth of Date is being filmed at the same mall through their friend William, who throughout the film tries to see a sailboat in a Magic Eye poster, which ironically has no sailboat in, but just some rows of random geometric shapes. The two ask local slackers Jay and Silent Bob to destroy the show's stage, a task for which they devise an elaborate but ultimately unsuccessful plan. Brody and Tess run into Trisha Jones, a 15-year-old senior who is writing a book on the sex drive of men ages 14 to 30, for which she has sex with various men as research and films every encounter. She then reveals that the previous night she had sex with Shannon Hamilton, a 25-year-old clothing store manager who hates Brody because of his lack of a shopping agenda.
Yeah, Ben Affleck in another early appearance as a kind of paedophile shop manager.
Yeah. Kind of
He's
almost.
moved on from the bullying
Yeah.
high school football player now.
And what the hell was he wearing?
Yeah, it's an awful. I don't even think back then that suit looked good. So it's probably a point of why he's wearing that.
The shop he worked in was called Fashionable Male.
Yeah,
So I don't know if it was
I think it's kind of.
Smith having
The
a
thing
dig
is
at
that
those
reminded
sort
me of something Patrick Swayze would wear in Roadhouse, but just 2 sizes extra too big.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a weird one, but we get our introduction of Swayze again. Almost, you could almost say this is his character from Days of Confused grown up a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, it's kind of, it flows on a little bit. And he's kind of the mall bully. Trisha Jones, 15-year-old senior writing a book, and that may come back later on. And this was the first time I'd ever met Jay and Silent Bob at this point.
Yeah.
And I was drawn into them, and a lot of Star Wars references and
Yeah.
Roadrunner like blueprints and things as time moves on, and I was hooked at this point. But plot-wise though, Brody then learns that Renee has begun a relationship with Shannon, and Brody confronts Renee, which is Shannon Doherty, to find out more about the relationship. And as they start arguing, they get a bit heated and passionate, and the two of them end up having sex in an elevator. Brody is later abducted and attacked by Shannon, who intends to have sex with Renee in a very uncomfortable place in Speech
The
Marks.
back of a Volkswagen.
And as a result of the incident, Jay and Silent Bob assault the mall's Easter Bunny under the incorrect assumption that it attacked Brody.
Well, he says he was attacked by the Easter Bunny.
Bunny,
He
yeah.
doesn't want to say it was
Shannon.
Shannon. So Brandy's father, Jared, has Brody and TS arrested on false charges of drug possession at the mall. Jay and Silent Bob are able to rescue Brody and TS, and then they hide out at a local flea market where they meet topless fortune teller Ivana, who gives them both advice on their relationship problems. TS decides to win Brandy back, and the two return to the mall.
Yeah, so throughout that, you can only stare at the three breasts. And
Yeah.
she finds it
No
repulsive.
matter how much.
I've forgotten her name now, but she's the one from Three's Company.
Yeah,
She's
she's
that
famous actress.
She's in. I think she's in the Devil's Rejects as well. She's
in a
the
lot
one
of
that
stuff.
Gets, the country folk band family in the hotel. I think she's the mum in that. But yeah,
I like that. What was it? He puts his baseball cap on, and it's a Clark's baseball cap.
Yeah.
So some nice little touches throughout. Obviously, you don't pick up. We didn't pick up the first time.
Yeah.
We didn't watch it. We hadn't seen Clark's. Well, I keep saying Clark's. We hadn't
Clark's.
seen. It's just a film about a shoe shop.
I do remember reading as well. It might be in it later on, but just with Renee Shandochi, she had it in her contract that she could keep all the clothes from the film. So like that's when, because people would say, well, why has she got like a different outfit on every time you see her? And her defense was that's what girls do when they go shopping. But basically, she was trying to just get it blag as
Yeah.
much as she could.
Fair
Because
enough.
again, Universal gave them this budget that they didn't need,
Yeah.
so Kevin Smith was just promising everything, like anything you wear, you can keep, anything like that. But they did get annoying around the elevator scene there because she'd picked out a denim jacket, and Kevin Smith got Degrassi embroidered in the back of it because he was a fan of like Degrassi,
Yeah.
Junior High, and all that. And she didn't know until she put it on because she'd picked it out to go out in, and he'd had the little thing put on the back, and they had a row over that.
Oh, right, okay.
So
I
that,
don't-
may have been another time she got.
I
called a
don't think
bitch.
that was one of Ben Affleck's riders, was it?
Yeah.
I think he was lucky to be in it at this point.
Before the show begins, Brody meets Fane's Marvel legend Stan Lee. Yeah, oh yes, he does. Who gives him advice on romance. This was revealed immediately after to be a request by TS, who somehow knows Stan Lee. After this, Brody requests that his friend Trisha Jones retrieve footage of her having sex with Shannon. Meanwhile, TS also persuades Jay to get two of the game show contestants stoned, which allows him and Brody to replace them on Truth or Date.
Ah, yes. The first inclinations of Jay and Silent Bob's occupation
Yeah.
as drug dealers. And one of the game show contestants is Gil Hicks, who is played by Brian O'Halloran, who played Dante Hicks in Clerks. And the idea is that it's going to be his cousin. And then through some of the other Kevin Smith films that come along, there's different Hickses in the film where he plays like different. You know, the idea is there are all these cousins around. Like in Dogma, there's a news announcer called something Hicks and various things. So throughout the film, we get Jay and Silent Bob trying to put a stop to Truth or Date with various Roadrunner, Coyote type schemes that eventually all fail, and the show does go ahead. And during the show, Brandy does recognise the voices of Brody and TS, and an on-air argument between them ensues. Brody ultimately gets the two to start arguing, explaining that TS has been pining for Brandy all day, Then TS proposes to Brandy and she accepts. As the police arrive to arrest TS and Brody, they showed when the show's over, Silent Bob plays the sex tape of Shannon and Trisha, resulting in his arrest for statutory rape. Brody and Renee then renew their relationship as a result, whilst Brandy's dad goes a little bit mad in the background. Yeah, it's a madcap thing. There's loads more. We haven't even mentioned the chocolate-covered pretzels. But
No.
that still makes you feel sick today.
Yeah, the what's he call it? Palm stink.
Yeah.
Stink palm, rather. Yeah, palm stink. Yeah.
We'll leave that one to you guys. You don't want to take all the fun out of it.
No, yeah.
And one of my favourites is the conversation Brody and TS have over the various superheroes and what how their powers may affect their sex lives, and whether or not Superman could ever have
Which
children.
we now know to be not a problem because we have Superman and Lois TV show where they have kids, so we know that
even
her uterus
though
is...
we know that only Wonder Woman would have a strong enough uterus to
so
have Superman's children.
He was wrong on that score.
Yeah.
Okay, so the conclusion reveals. So this is the end credits. This is where the film is ending, and you got the wrap up. The conclusion reveals that T.S. marries Brandy at Universal Studios.
Very Animal House like, isn't it? You know, with the words and the
it's all
sort of thing.
80s madcap kind of homage, if you like. He proposes whilst at Universal Studios, whilst on the Jaws attraction. Hence why I don't get why you didn't get the whole Quint and Brody reference.
Dude, I'm sat there myself looking at it. Yeah.
I think even
I got it.
Even Jaws is mentioned earlier in the film. So anyway,
yeah, well, that's the thing. He wants to propose to her when Jaws pops out of the water.
Yeah,
that's the whole.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
just don't think I was looking for that.
Just the name, the name Quint. It's just...
Well, the thing is, it's TS most of the time, isn't it? It's only, I think when I wrote it down, I was like, oh yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Because most of the time it's TS and Brody, so you don't.
Fair dues. Anyway, so Trisha's book becomes a bestseller. Shannon gets imprisoned and subsequently raped whilst in prison. William eventually does see the sailboat. Brody becomes the host of the Tonight Show with Renee as his band leader, so she goes a bit mental on the drums. It's a bit poor impression of drum playing, I have to say, at the end of that, but it is what it is. And Jay and Silent Bob get an orangutan named Susan, as you do, which we'll come on to why that happens, I guess, in a minute.
So Mallrats took 2.1 million against a 6.1 million budget. So, obviously not a hit.
No,
by any means. Studio interference was seen as being a key issue in its development. At one point, Smith was told he was not using enough of his budget. Chirichi replied he didn't need to. He was then told that he had to spend it because this was going to be a big budget movie. So one day on set, he was bored and he's like, "What can I spend money on?" And I think he may have Clint Eastwood may have been on the telly or something. So he hired an orangutan for the sake of it, which they used for like 30 seconds at the end of the film. Kevin Smith actually apologised for Mallrats at the 1996 Independent Spirit Awards, although he later stated the apology was sort of made in jest. I think it was sort of half jest. But despite all that, the film developed a cult following after its release on video, and Mallrats brought the viewers universe to the mainstream. As I said, we then had Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back,
the latest Clerks film.
The Clerks 2. There's a Jay and Silent Bob. There was a Clerks cartoon series, and it's spun on. And Clerks 3's due out later this year.
There's comics as well.
And comics and toys and
I've got Jay and Silent Bob figurine somewhere. Figurine? It's not the right word. Action figure.
Action figures.
Figurine. What?
And but there was all sorts
next to your Hummels.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all sorts though with the studio and that, and Kevin Smith's like going, "I don't need more money, I can make this film." They're like, "No, let's do that." And it's almost, I think it just got out of control. It was too much out of his control in the end, and like different things and sets. He was like, "Well, we can film this for like $300 doing this." I'm like, "No, you got money now, buy all this." And it was, it was just too much for him to keep it all, I think, under control and under how his vision wanted it to be. And them coming up with like daily suggestions and things like that. And I think by the end of it as well, I remember on something, everyone, it was all suggestions of what Jay could do. Because then they didn't want him to begin with. Then they realised that they liked him when they saw him on the film, and I guess they smelt money in the character because he was like the funny one, I suppose. And it was like, get Jay to do this. Like, Jay wouldn't do that. Get Jay to do this. And that's like, you get like the whole Batman Dark Knight bit, which he wanted to do a Batman bit, but it's a little bit cheesy for what it is. But it's played, they just played with it.
It is, but you could almost argue that the entire film is almost a live action cartoon anyway, because of, like you said, the Roadrunner bits and all that. So I don't think it takes away from.
Oh no, I like those bits.
I mean, they're probably bits that appealed to us in Lennon's.
Whoa. And and Suzanne the monkey does end up coming back in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Because it says in the credits, like, Suzanne's got That's Another Story, and in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, they rescue her from the animal testing facility and all that. So it does all. I mean, he never planned it that way. It wasn't Longford storytelling. He just spent some money on a monkey because they said spend some money on a monkey. I mean, and that was it. And he was like we said earlier, he was like Shan Doherty. He was like, okay, whatever you wear, you can keep. Other people probably had different things on their budgets and whatever else that they could do, and he was just like, have some more money, have some more idea. And the studio were like, make it bigger, make it, and he was like, I don't need to do that, I don't need to spend it. And it must be hard, what their vision compared to his, because they wanted this, their whole thing was like, it's not like Porky's, we want it like funny like Porky's. And he was like, we can't make Porky's nowadays, this is like what we can make.
I mean, it's what, 15 years after Porky's.
And just some of the stuff in Porky's isn't allowed to be in films anymore.
No.
It's just...
even back in 1995 or whatever it was.
Yeah. But, so, to me, though, this is my verdict on it. I still really like this film. A lot of people frown on it across the viewership universe because it's the sellout one, or the one where, it's not as good as the other ones or as meaningful or whatever, but this was the fun one that got me into it. If I hadn't seen this, I wouldn't have found it to begin with. Yeah,
probably likely. I hadn't watched it for a long, long time, and watching it back last night, in fact. Still enjoyed it. Still thought it was a good film. There's some of the performances are a bit over the top. Michael Rooker's well over the top in this. Which is almost.
I think Michael Rooker's money went on cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's just like it's a little bit over the top.
But it was Michael Rooker's suggestion for him in that karate scene to get his ass out as well.
Was it?
He was like, I should do this. Like, okay.
Fair enough. But other than that, that's the only. It's not a bad performance. It's just.
I know you really.
It's a performance outside of the rest of the performances, if that makes sense. Everyone else is quite level, whereas his performance is. But he's almost like he's trying to. We talked about last week channeling Jack Nicholson with Christian Slater. He's like he's trying to channel Nick Cage.
But I think from what we know since then, because at that point Michael Rooker was known for JFK.
I didn't.
And Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only film I'd known him from. Even like to be fair, when he popped up in the series he popped up in.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, when he popped up in Walking Dead, I didn't make the connection that he was in Mallrats. I made Serial Killer. I did, but not. It just didn't. Out of all the people that are in Mallrats, he was the one I forgot was in it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No. I mean, but I think that's. Yeah, I don't think he was playing that much of a role. Because my favourite Michael Rooker moment still, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. It's a Jason David Frank video, who was Tommy the Green Power Ranger at like a Comic-Con thing, and someone's holding a bit of wood up, or one of them block things, and he like punches one and it breaks and everyone cheers, and they hold another one out, and as they walk by, Michael Rooker's walking by and he has a alert and he just picks it up, headbutts it in two and gives it back to him and carries on walking. It's just like, what the hell? And he's just like, and he just, But Paul, what do you think?
No, I didn't like it.
What?
No, not as much as the other Kevin Smith films to me. I and after reading about it, I can kind of understand why that. If it comes across that it had too much, studio trying to buy into it and take over the film, so he was just doing stuff to appease them. it almost felt like I'm surprised it didn't have like a Blues Brothers car chase sequence. In
Yeah,
there as
yeah.
well.
The music's in there. The Blues
Yeah, I
Brothers
know,
music's
but
in there
no,
in the
but
lift.
like the
I
big,
know, but there is a reference.
yeah. And you know, I like more. I was gonna say, it sounds a bit daft, but I like more if it had just been a day out at the mall, just with bumping into different characters without all the Porky's type jokes and slapstick. And yeah, some of it was funny, but it just seems out of place to me. And actually, you know, one of the clever things about his writing is him just delving into the mundanity and bringing that to life, and that's what I like. And yeah, it kind of lost me with all that slapstick humour, but that's not my cup of tea. So out of all of his films, it's not one of my favourites.
No, fair enough. Fair
Mm.
enough. And
Don't
again,
get me wrong, there's some good scenes in there. You know, it's not a bad film, but it's not my favourite Kevin Smith film. And it's just another showcase for Jay and Silent Bob. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they kind of steal the show, but they do that in most of the films anyway.
Well, that's interesting, wasn't it? Because it was Chasing Amy after this, and they're only in it at the end for like 2 minutes, and they give him like a pep. Silent Bob gives him a pep talk at the end, sort of thing. And although their image isn't all the way through, because it's
Yeah.
the Blunt Man and Chronic comics, but so I wonder if that was maybe that he dialed it all back then, just thinking out loud here.
Well,
He dialed
Yeah,
it all
I
back
mean,
and then focused what you were saying. Yeah,
I much prefer Chasing Amy to this.
Chasing Amy is the best Kevin Smith film.
Yeah.
Mm.
But this has got, to me, is some quotable moments in it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
And Strikes Back was good as well. That was the first time we really got Will Ferrell when he's the sheriff trying to chase him, or the animal marshal, or whatever. He's not actually a sheriff.
It's a
is
trooper,
He's
isn't he? Is it a
Trooper.
trooper? I can't
There's
remember.
something to do with the
It's a long
animal, because
time.
he's chasing the monkey, really. But everyone thinks he's like a sheriff, but he's like
Oh yeah,
the
you're right.
animal
It's
wildlife
animal control or
marshal
something.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
And all that. But no, it's in Dogma. Obviously, it's got some. Alan Rickman steals that one, but yeah, no. But I think for me, again, maybe it's that thing. This is what introduced me to it, so I'll always have that sort of memory. And I sat and watched it with no dialogue and a nightclub. Actually, sat down and ignored everything else that was going on for an hour and a half. So it must have caught my attention somehow. But
Okay, so rating wise,
I will go with Paul first
A
then.
5 out of 10 for me.
Cool.
see, I'm only going to go as high as 6. So nostalgia wise, if you just say to me, how do you feel about this film? I'd give it an 8 or 9, just purely for the fact of back in the day, it was like the most refreshing film I'd seen in a long time.
Yeah.
But actually watching it with a proper kind of critical eye, I think there's a lot that lets it down. Rooker's performance, some of the stuff you've mentioned, Paul, does kind of drop it down quite a few levels to make it kind of almost mediocre. It's a high 6, but it's not. It's not something I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it anytime soon. I will watch it again, no doubt, in the next 30 years, but it's not up there anymore. It's no Heathers.
Well, I'd go about the same. I'd go for about a 7, because I think it is just, or maybe a 6. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
The bits that are good are really, really good.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of
There's a couple of bits as well that I noticed this time around as well, a lot more. And again, it was the studio. I looked out and it was the studio that done it. Some of Brandy's responses on the dating show were like a year later. And when you look, you can see it's a slightly different colour. The hair's slightly. When you look, you're looking for it. You can just suddenly see. It's like one of those things. Once you realise, you're like, oh yeah, the chair's a slightly different colour and the hair's slightly different, and then
Right.
it goes back again in the next bit and things like that. But that was, I think they wanted to try and make her more, bring her alive a bit more in those scenes, because she might have been a bit plain originally and stuff, and
okay.
all that as well. So yeah, I want to say 7, but I'll go 6.5. But it's still there. I'll watch it again. It's one of those. If it's on, I'll end up watching it. If I'm flicking for a channel, it's on. I'll watch it till the end. You know, like
Yeah,
I
I know
wouldn't
what
go
you mean.
out to put
'Cause
it on.
that
but
that bit's coming up. I
yeah,
want to see that
so,
bit
yeah.
again. Yeah. But yeah,
But-
it's not like, well, I don't have a DVD collection anyway. But obviously, I do have it on. Got a digital copy, and if I'm flicking through the films on the hard drive, it's not. Oh no, I'm not going to watch that. But
soundtrack was
would you
kick-ass
recommend
as
it?
well.
I'd still recommend it as a film to watch.
Yeah, so I think with Kevin Smith's films, I'd recommend them to anyone.
Yeah,
You know, but out of all of them, I just, the storytelling isn't as good as the others. It doesn't have the same.
but there isn't
dialogue.
much of a story in there, really.
No,
That's the
but
thing,
the
isn't it?
dialogue as well.
Yeah,
There's some nice set sequences of
Mm.
dialogue, but it just doesn't tell as well as some of the
No,
the
and
other films.
there's not really a huge amount of characterization for any of the players in it either.
Yeah.
Which that's what kind of lets it down, is they're all very sort of superficial, one-layered
Well,
characters.
Brody Bruce, Jason Lee comes out the star, really, doesn't he? And he's the sidekick.
Yeah,
You know, apart from obviously James Silent Bob, because but he kind of ends up becoming like,
he's the main
he-
protagonist,
yeah.
really. TS is just it's just moping around in the
Yeah.
background, really.
Yeah.
It's
But
it's
then he's
Jason Lee that
technically
drives
he's
the
supposed
film.
to be the sidekick.
yeah,
He steals every scene he's in.
mm.
Even this bit with Stan Lee's just really cool, and you can genuinely tell that obviously he probably was like made up to be in a scene with Stan Lee as well, which helps, which
Yeah.
most people would be. But and probably the first Stan Lee cameo of the modern era.
Quite possibly. I wouldn't know.
I'm just trying to think of all the films.
You're
like,
asking the wrong
What
person.
was it? 93 Mallrats? 95?
Don't know.
Was it?
It's got to be the same
But,
time, around the same time as Empire, isn't it?
But yeah, so there we go then. I would say still go and check it out. It might be the most accessible of Kevin Smith's films.
Yeah.
And maybe Chasing Amy, because Chasing Amy is kind of its own story that happens to be in that world.
Yeah, but there's some.
There are references, but it's kind of
Yeah,
its
no, I
own-
don't mean that. But I mean, it's Chasing Amy is not always necessarily an easy watch.
That's what I mean. It's not a. You gotta. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As in, so when you say accessible, Mallrats is accessible insofar as not a lot happens. It's kind of straight out comedy. There's no depth to it. Chasing Amy, there's a little bit more going on in that. There's more.
It's a lot deeper. Of a
Yeah,
film,
exactly.
isn't it?
So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that. It's not as accessible as Mallrats is. Mallrats, you can watch that standalone. To be fair.
Because some people will go, "Oh, I'm going to go back and watch Clerks," and then they're like, "Oh, it's in black and white,"
Yeah.
and it's like, so I would, to someone who's not seen a Kevin Smith film, I might go Mallrats first,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then
I
go
would.
right, then they can pick out what bits they
That
like and
eases you
go,
into that
yeah.
universe and how the.
And then once you've got them all, you can
how
go
it
back and
plays
watch
out.
Clerks.
Yeah.
But
So that's the end of our summer teen movie high school special Odyssey, I think, isn't it?
Yep.
I believe it is.
Cool. So should we explain what we're doing going forward?
Yeah, cool.
Go for it.
Okay, so
'Cause I can't remember.
as of next recording session, whoever's the host gets to nominate the film we're going to be watching for that episode.
Everyone's allowed one veto.
Everyone's allowed one veto. We'll announce whatever film it is at the end of the previous episode. I think I'm still making sense here. I'm not very good at explaining things. What we haven't done though, because I've just realised it's me hosting next week's episode, and I haven't thought of a film to watch. So
I've got one. if
no,
we
it's
can-
my episode. No,
Okay.
no, no,
No, I'm just saying we can just spin
no.
it around. Okay.
Just watch out for a TikTok
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be dropped before.
yeah. I'll send you a message or a WhatsApp or something.
Well, everyone that
decide.
listens to the
Yeah,
podcast.
No, I'll send you guys a WhatsApp.
yeah, yes.
No, actually, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do live on air, if you like. I'm just gonna come up with a
Ooh,
film. I'm gonna say.
drum roll.
Don't just veto it. So yes, come up with another.
Yeah. It's funny actually. I've got Chasing Amy on my list, but it's too close to what we've just been talking about. I'm gonna go with With Nail and I.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
film I've not watched for a long time, but I remember loving it, and I know you hate it. So, do you want to use your veto on the
No,
first?
I'm quite happy to say I don't I don't hate it enough to run a veto on it
Fair dues. So,
because I'm quite happy to point out why it's not very good.
But I'm more than happy to watch again because it's been a fair few
yeah, it's been a long time
years.
since I watched it. Very long
Yeah.
time, but I remember it.
I
Oh,
just
I do
remember
know
it
I
being
like
one
it.
of those films everyone went on about. And
Yeah,
you watched
I-
it and
that-
going,
yeah.
"Ugh."
That's because, yeah,
I'm not going to do the drinking games that go along with it.
hell no.
No.
Cool. So next week, it will be With Nail and I.
And us.
So get watching, get seeing what you think of it, and then we'll compare notes when we meet again.
Yeah.
Right, so that is the end of this week's episode and our super summer season of teen movie stardom and superness, or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah. I've realised I've used the word Odyssey a lot
Yeah.
for some reason. I'm not even entirely sure I know what that word means, but there we go.
Back to my roots, yeah. Thank you for listening. As always, you can keep up to date on all the major happenings in the cult film world and TV at the mothership that is cultfaction.com. Everything we do is on there somewhere, from podcasts, our Instagrams, Facebooks, TikToks, social media, all our reviews, all the latest news, all goes through that website. We ask you, please, if you are listening on like a podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of the different ones, please leave us a review. It really does help us, and we really would appreciate it. Anything else? If you want to contact us, you need to email us at
Cultfactionpodcast@mail.com.
well done. And yeah, that's
It. I think
that's
we've
the
covered-
house cleaning, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yes. Okay, so I'll say then it is a goodbye from me, Brett Summers.
It's a good night from me.
Not going to say your name.
Oh, well, we don't sometimes, do we?
I don't know.
It just felt
It
a bit
didn't
odd.
sound right.
It just sounded odd when Brett Summers said it.
Okay. And yeah, it's a goodbye from me,
Damien
Hicks.
Snitch to the niche, and we'll see you next time.
Superman.
That didn't work. My legs are fucking killing me.
You need your microphone.
You smack yourself in the face.
I did just smack myself
Yeah.
in the face with a microphone, yeah. I
Um,
reached for my drink and hit the microphone instead.
That was, very Chaplin-esque.
I am inevitable.
Right, well, I'm going to go for a whiz soon.